I want to share with you my story of when I knew it was time to leave a social work job. It was a literal light bulb moment, but probably not in the way that you're thinking. So let's rewind a little bit and let me help me set the stage. So, as a social worker, we are fed messages about the importance of giving a lot and service, and what that often looks like in terms of our salaries and the jobs that we end up in is that we are often incredibly underpaid, incredibly overworked, and incredibly under resourced. So, when I got an opportunity to leave one of my social work jobs that was physically making me sick, I was having incredible chronic insomnia. I was getting colds and flus constantly because I didn't have the capability to protect my emotional well being. I was constantly thinking about my clients and it was making me ill. So when I had an opportunity to leave that job for one that came with a lot of prestige, I took it because not only did this new job come with a lot of prestige, it paid well for a social work field. And this job also was at an institution that has a lot of prestige and accolades. And when you are at a healthcare research institute that is large and well known, you feel like it's as good as it gets. And as a social worker, it also meant that I had things that a lot of people in the social work field don't get. I had decent pay, I had health insurance, I had paid time off, I had the opportunity for continuing education, I had a retirement match, I had the ability to get access to a lawyer so I could have things like a will and a trust. And not to mention, I was able to rub elbows, literally and figuratively, with some of the brightest minds in the psychology, psychiatry, and social work space. So when I got there, it felt like the world was my oyster and that I had absolutely made it. Being at this institution, everybody's salaries are public, which I really appreciate because you could always tell, if I put in X number of years and I follow this path, this is what is possible for me. I appreciated the pay transparency. That was really important for me. And so when early on in my career there, somebody asked me how much money I made, I didn't flinch. I just told them because they could go Google it if they wanted to because it was public, or look in the database to find it. So when I told them my salary, I again didn't think much of it. A little bit of time went by after I told that person how much money I made, and somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, Lindsay, I just want you to know that I didn't sign that thing that is going around." I had no idea what they were talking about. I was like, okay. Again, kind of new in this space, trying to feel my way through things. So when they said that, I don't know. I honestly didn't associate it with anything. Like it just was like basically a throwaway comment, except that it landed a little weird to me. I didn't sign that thing that was going around. Like, okay. And over time, I started getting more messages like that from people verbally saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, what's happening? The thing that's going on, I'm so sorry you're involved in it, da da da." And eventually I started to piece together what was happening as I heard more and more from other folks throughout this institution what was going on. And what was going on was that because I was paid well for a social worker, people were mad. And not only were people mad about what I was getting paid, they wanted to bring attention to it by advocating that I earn less. So, this institution, 24,000 employees, had access to my name, my salary, and were asked to sign on the dotted line to say I didn't deserve that much money. And I was mortified. I was flabbergasted. I was early enough in my career where I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to advocate for myself. I didn't know how to talk to somebody about it. I just essentially waited for it to blow over. But you can imagine that every single meeting I went into, I went in with this cloud of shame and embarrassment and the imposter syndrome that bubbled up from that incident. I was constantly worried that I was going to say something that was going to be proof to somebody else that I didn't deserve to be where I was. Constantly. I cried for weeks because I didn't know what to do. And if you are thinking, oh, this is the light bulb moment that Lindsay mentioned, that she knew it was time to leave that social work career, you would be incorrect, because I stayed at that job for 4 more years. Yeah, because I believed that it couldn't get any better. I believed that there was no way for me to have a job in the field of social work that paid as well or more, that offered the type of flexibility or more, or the type of, personal and career fulfillment or more that that job offered. I really bought into this idea, and it was reinforced at every step of the way, whether it was from colleagues, people outside of the department, friends and family. I kept getting the same message, which was, you are so lucky to be there. And so I believed it. I believed that I was lucky and I had better hold on really tightly to that job, even though something incredibly horrific and embarrassing and inappropriate and wrong had happened. I stayed for 4 more years. And I want for you to think about, whether you're in the field of social work, whether you're in a helping and healing profession, whether you're in, a tech startup. I want for you to think, what am I putting up with? Because I believe this is as good as it can get. So let's get to that light bulb moment. So as you can imagine, being in that industry, I have to be really clear. I loved my actual job. I loved the research I was doing. I loved the clients that I was working with. I loved the team that I was on. I was incredibly fortunate to really love my work. And when an institution gets that big, you are bound to have bureaucracy happen. And not just bureaucracy in terms of like, oh, it takes a long time to get things done, but bureaucracy in terms of we have to have a committee to determine who gets what office based on the amount of credentials they have, the type of research they've put out, and how much how much money they're bringing into the institution. So we had to have meetings, about having more meetings, about rescheduling those meetings to have more meetings. If anyone's been in that kind of industry, you know what I'm talking about. So there's that kind of level of bureaucracy. But then it's also very segmented in that one person has one task that they do, or one department has one set of tasks that they do. So it also meant that if, for example, the website my team had, we needed to update our headshots, like pretty simple, standard thing. And what would happen was we got our photos taken by the photo department. The photo department sent those images, like the JPEGs or whatever, to the website person. And the website person had to upload those photos. We couldn't have access to them to upload them to the website. They had to go through somebody else. And because it was pretty low priority, it meant it took over a year for those headshots to get uploaded to the website. So for a year, there were just like, the like silhouette. There's just like a silhouette of our entire team for a year, even though we had the images because we weren't allowed to upload them. So that's the type of bureaucracy that I'm talking about, where things take so long for, in my opinion, no good reason, just because, and this was something I heard a lot, it's just the way things are. It's just the way it is. And so I'd come to learn that things were just slower, and that was a part of life in that place. And one day I was going to use the restroom, like pretty normal thing. And it was one of those one person restrooms. And I noticed that not only was the light, like the overhead light, not working, but somebody had moved a desk lamp into the bathroom to light up the space because like it was one of those interior bathrooms where there's no windows. I was like, God, that's really weird. Why did somebody bring their desk lamp into the bathroom? And why is the overhead light burnt out? Like, you know, to me, it seemed like an easy fix. Grab a light bulb, change it, then somebody doesn't have to drag their desk lamp into the bathroom. But I was told that we weren't allowed to change the light bulbs. Facilities had to do that. So people were literally going to the bathroom in the dark with like their cell phone lights until this person decided to bring their lamp into the bathroom because we weren't allowed to change a light bulb. And that, 4 years after the incident that had originally happened, that was when I went, oh, it's time to go. And the next day I put in my notice. But it is amazing what we will put up with when we believe this myth that what we have is as good as it gets. Whether it's the golden handcuffs of a prestigious job, whether it's a, kind of job where you have like a ping pong table and free snacks, whether you buy into the idea that that's the end all be all, we stay, we tolerate, and we cope with things that are not appropriate because we believe in our heart of hearts that that's as good as it gets. And so I want to invite you, social worker, therapist, somebody in the mental health and wellness space, to ask yourself, have I had that light bulb moment? Am I doing what Lindsay did and ignoring it for 4 years to wait for another sign that things are better somewhere else, that things are possible somewhere else? Because this idea that somebody else's mission is as good as it gets suffocates so many of us creatively, energetically, spiritually. So thank you for listening to this story about why I left my cushy social work job. What should have been a light bulb moment, but wasn't because of the many ways in which it was reinforced, and the actual light bulb moment that gave me the confidence to say goodbye.